Welcome back and welcome to part 2 of my Diana Ross inspired gowns. And I'm wearing a t-shirt which I beaded front and back because I hate when stuff is only beaded in the front. So I beaded the back as well. And so this was inspired only for the color by the video clip, "Why Do Fools Fall in Love?" And it took me a year, I think, to bead this t-shirt, but not because it takes a year to bead it. Although it took me a really, really long time. It's simply because I had two different jobs in between and I had to stop, and then I just couldn't get back to doing it. So the beading is what we call cracked ice, with one of you followers told me what it was called because I didn't know the English term. So because of that, I'd like to thank a lot of you. Well, some of it, I want to thank all of you for following this channel, but I'm going to shout out a couple of names, not all so that it's not boring, but I want to shout you out. So first of all, Sylvie Sim, who is one of the few French followers on this channel, and who gave me some amazing pictures, which I'm going to post, including the vinyl gown that I was inspired by. I couldn't find it, and Sylvie Sim was able to find it for me. So thank you, Sylvie Sim. Thank you. You're so sweet. And we probably met because we were in all different places in Paris at the same time. I want to thank the lovely Curtis 317 and Curtis Michael. Two Curtises, you're absolutely adorable. Joe Clark, Charles Riley, and Will McIntyre, thank you. You're always so comforting and so kind, and it really, really helps, and it really feels great to read you. I want to thank Romeo Bushanabol, I don't know if I'm saying it right, the critical expert Redding Malik, you are such a sweetheart, you always have such kind words. Royce Rollins, I absolutely adore you. Nok Shiminosh, I hope I'm saying it right. My French accent is terrible. And Bubble Mix. And I'll shout out more of you if I haven't done it now, and I'll do it each time. So this gown I told you about in the last episode because there's really something incredible about this gown. I first bought the fabric. I go to an area in Paris where they sell a lot of fabric, but a lot of evening fabric, and it was on sale, I have to say. So it was kind of a deal. I'm not crazy about prints, but you know, it was black and silver. I just took it, but I really honestly bought it because it was a good a good price. And then got home and left it on the rack. I'll show you the upstairs where I work. This is my living room, one side of my living room, by the way. And I just left it there for months. And then one day I found this fur, which I love, because it's a little bit like monkey fur. It's black and it has a little bit of silver stripes in it, so it really looked really nice. Now this was really expensive, but I just got a little bit so that I could trim the gown top, bottom, and the sleeves. And so then I said, I'm just going to do a usual Diana Ross gown, you know, with the big sleeves. And I was wondering if I was going to do something that would be like a wrap. And then I decided on just this kind of shape because I really wanted to show the print. And then I wanted a dramatic back. So I'd excuse the squeaky mannequin, she's older than me, and so I ended it like this, and it was a pretty useful gown in the end because like I tell you, I love costume changes. You know, I'm just like the master, Miss Ross. So it's really easy to just, you know, if you have a gown under, you just do this and it just slips off, and then you have the gown. So, I mean, you have another gown. So I just did this gown and that was it, didn't think anything of it. And I promise you, this is true. And then one day I'm looking through, all the YouTube and, the Diana Ross images, and I find the Diana Ross Oscar moment when she came to give an Oscar for Best Actor, Jon Voight, and she was wearing a stunning Galanos gown, and I remember it so vividly because my father called. I was in bed, and he said, "Diana Ross is giving out an award, so I'll call you when she arrives." I was a little boy. And so I, of course, could not sleep and waited and waited and waited and waited and waited. And then finally he called me. I went downstairs. It was in the den. And I saw Diana Ross arrive. She was along with Ginger Rogers. And of course, I remember that it was Ginger Rogers, but that was it. And when I saw the video, Ginger Rogers, so I'm posting the video right now, is wearing practically the same gown. I mean, honestly, it really looks like somebody, like I tried to copy the design. I really couldn't be further away from thinking about that gown. I did not remember. You can imagine I was only staring at Diana Ross when she was giving out the award, which was something quite funny because years later, Jon Voight and Diana Ross became couples. So I thought that was interesting. So anyway, this is when I say Diana Ross inspired, I mean, she's everywhere, because even if it's someone next to her wearing the gown, I still think of it as something interesting. But Ginger Rogers was very, very classy, and she had all these old style Hollywood gowns. So it's the style that I always love. But this was really kind of a happy mistake, because the fabric was not the kind of fabric I usually buy, and the fur, I just happened to find it by chance. And so anyway, here it is. Now back to Diana Ross inspired gowns. Now, can anybody guess this one? Loosely inspired by, but inspired anyway. It's Diana, the TV special, the 1971 TV special, when she opened singing "Don't Rain on My Parade, Don't Tell Me Not to Fly, I Simply Gotta." So I absolutely love this dress. Now, I've always wanted to do the orange dress with the bright orange and pink feathers, and I work with a plumassier, so I don't know the word in English, but it's people who work with feathers. And his grandmother created this type of work on a feather. This is a turkey feather, but it is brushed one by one in order to give it this swan aspect. And the grandmother invented that. And so when he showed me the feathers and the boas, I said, you have to make me two, because I want to do the sleeves. And then I ordered some orange, and they never arrived. He was never able to get to make these feathers again. This was a very, very old system, and the prices of feathers went up, and he moved, and so I was never able to get both colors, which I wanted. And so this is the dress that I made it in. It's a black velvet that has pink and orange tiny little sprayed sequins on. So it's also a very fun dress because it turns into just a very puffy sleeve. The feathers are hooked on at the bottom and at the top, but very securely, and they can be just taken out. And then I have a very, very puffy pink sleeve. And this is also, when I started doing this outfit, I also wanted the red gown that she has in white as well. The one where she sings Endless Love with Lionel Richie at the Oscars. She has it in red, and I saw her on stage wearing it. and I just thought that was so exciting to have those sleeves. But the fabric, when it's cut up in little points, it just didn't look very chic and elegant. I wasn't able to have the right fit for it, so I just kept the bottom. And this is a silk, really super expensive silk, but I was able to get it for a cheap price, just a small piece, so just enough for the sleeves. So when I sing it with the feathers, I just pull them off and then come back on stage wearing just a very puffy sleeve. And so that's it. Here I am. Let's go on to another dress. So here's another gown. Again, one of my funny fabric stories. So this gown, I always wanted to do a, complete Diana Ross, huge sleeve, inspired by Mahogany, by her own creations in Mahogany, and something very, very dramatic. And I love when Diana Ross has the complete low cut, up to the navel, and no matter how she moves, it's stuck right to her. I think it's so stunning, and I wanted something with shoulder pads. This is a recent creation. So this is another funny fabric story, because I found this fabric in the dumpster. I live near a street where you have a couple, there used to be factories where they made tons of clothes. This moved out, it was called the Sentier, and they completely moved away from Paris, and it's also the red light district, so that also is kind of disappearing, and it's turning into like a very trendy area. But I lived near there, and I passed by one evening coming home, and there was a huge bag that was see-through, a garbage bag, and in it was this fabric and a burgundy, the same print but in burgundy, and there was a woman that was pulling on it, and it was just this wide but super long. And actually you can see it here, the seam, where is it? Right there. You see, this is the seam. So this was the width, and but it super long. So what they had made were, because I found them later on sale, were these horrible little t-shirts, with the 3/4 sleeve. But I loved the print. It was very Egyptian and a very Arabic, very African, very much like fabric you find in the kaftans that they make where I come from, Morocco. And so it took me ages to put the fabric back together so that I could cut into it, because it was just very, very narrow. I mean, it was, enough to make like a tube dress or something. But for miles and miles and miles, I found 17 meters. So that's a lot of yards. Oh, by the way, I am 5'6". And somebody said to me, "Are you really 5'6"? So I wanted to make sure, and I compared 1 meter 72. That's my height in French, is 5'6". And when I was telling you about the gown that the fabric was 165, that's the height, the minimum that I need, because of course you don't count the head, you just start, at the shoulders. So from here to the floor, I'm 165, and 172 is my height, which is 5'6" and 0.1. But yeah, I just like Diana Ross, I seem very, very tall in videos, and in real life I'm tiny. But so that's the story of this fabric. And I had in the burgundy, I had less, and I was able to make an outfit for my Liza Minnelli character. Okay, so I'm not gonna ask you if you recognize this coat. My designers would just die if you didn't recognize this coat, and this gown, which is so I designed, but you can't really say I designed it because it's such a plain and classical gown. But I did not make it. I had it made by a company called Diamonds for Eden, where everything is beaded by hand in India, and it was one of the most expensive gowns I ever bought, but because I didn't make it, so I had to pay for it a lot more. But I used it. Oh God, it is used and used. I'm almost ashamed to show it. It's missing sequins here and here. I changed the zipper twice, and it went, you know, in a lot of places. And I also worked in a theater where I would leave it, and then, you know, every night I would perform in the gown. So you kind of end up ruining them, stepping on them and whatever. But it's still on stage, looks like something. And this is my tulle coat made with 50 meters of tulle, and also with a pattern that is the same one that is used for Diana Ross's coat. So I knew, I was told exactly how to make it. And Diana Ross coat has an extra amount of fabric, which I didn't add. It became so big that I could barely ever travel with it because it just took too much room. And it actually, I went to Monaco and did a show there. But by the time I was on stage, it was a wedding. There was so much alcohol on the floor, and people had spilled drinks and everything, that I didn't take it out of its bag. And so it just went to Monaco and came back for 48 hours, and it just never, it just traveled. I never used it. So this dress is just, you know, I really wanted to have a Diana Ross dress. And one of the things I'm very, very proud of is when I was asked to appear at Disneyland Paris, and I was, and it is written in the books, the very first female impersonator to work at Disneyland in Paris. And I went through a lot of questions and photos, and they photographed everything, my makeup, the gown, the hair, everything. But it was for a special, extraordinary event. And I found the video for you. And this moment when I arrived on the stage and all of the gold little glitter fell, you know, from the ceiling, and I had the coat, and I had another coat and the gown, and I ran onto the stage. There's a moment where you think, oh my God, because the stage was so big and so beautiful with all the lights and with the cameras twirling around and everything, that it was a stage where Diana Ross could have absolutely performed. It was that grandiose and that spectacular. And there's something that happens when you're on that stage and you just think, you know, you don't think you're Diana Ross, but you think, who am I? You completely lose track of the person that you are. The people that were there were not, you know, I was not in a limousine, but that moment on stage was just absolutely incredible. And I'm very, very thankful to the creative directors at Disney, who really insisted on having me appear. And it was just a very small appearance, once as Dalida and once as Diana Ross. So that's it for my gowns. Maybe there's going to be a part 3. You tell me what you think, because I can't even choose. I have so many more. They're all inspired by Miss Ross. So I'll see you very soon, and thank you again for all your kind words and support. Bye-bye.